Alright, two things need to be said on the start. This is based completely on my personal opinion. And the second thing to be said, I am aware that in next season augmentation is nerfed, but I don't think it's nerfed enough. Again, just my opinion. So let's start about it. Why I hate augmentation evokers. I hate them so much. So 1.5 patch dropped and we got augmentation evokers to the game. And I was even annoyed already in the patch notes when the Blizzard explicitly said the augmentation evoker is a damage dealer role. And I mean, what? Alright, maybe you replace Damager to get augmentation evoker in. But he's have nothing in common with damage. What he's doing? He's empowering. What is his ability? Well, look at this. Oh, increasing damage of stats of allies, increasing critical chance of allies, increasing their performance, increasing healer a little, their defense, their shields. Let's have shields on everybody who is dealing damage, and this is dealing damage when they are dealing damage, and this is some other huge shield on my allies, and when I use my ability, everybody get increase their health, but they increase their health all the way anytime. Yeah, but yeah, definitely damage dealer. It's just completely new role in World of Warcraft. Only thing that you have in common with DPS, that you replace DPS with it. I hate when people call it DPS and Blizzard call it DPS. It's nothing in common with DPS. It's completely support. It's doing so little damage. It's doing similar damage than healer, a little bit more than healer, depending on, of course, on healer class. And what happened in dungeon when augmentation evoker dies? You can write -1 DPS. What happened if you have augmentation and some other DPS will die? You can write off 1.5 DPS. Try to finish last few millions on the boss when 2 DPS dies and augmentation is alive. He's doing absolutely jack shit. That's why even when I'm healing dungeons, I have like Paladin and I have 2 beacons, I place him on 2 DPS. Never on Evoker. Why? Because if he dies, he's alright. If some other DPS dies, he's died much more than 1 DPS, because then Evoker have nobody to empower. They lose 1 target from 2 targets. So it's losing 1.5 DPS when we kill DPS. So yeah, it's absolutely not a DPS. It's completely support. If it would be DPS, if somebody else died, his DPS would drop a little. But it's not true. It's a huge drop. Of course, he's buffing even healer, he's increasing healing of healer, he's increasing tanking of tank, because main stat is good for everybody, and that shield is huge for the tank. Also 3% for anything, healing and damage. That also have other evokers, but of course not many of them are speccing these talents, and they are going to dungeons that are choosing the other things. This is usually what augmentation are wearing to the dungeons, because you know there are support. So yeah, that's the first thing. That is already annoying me, but let's move on. It's not that big deal. It's replacing DPS, so let's call it a DPS role, because again, it's replacing DPS. It's nothing in common to play as DPS, as augmentation is doing nothing with others. That's the definition of support class. So now we have a completely new role that people want to fill up, mainly in dungeons, and of course in raid, but there is 20 people in raid. There's like individuality is a little bit erasing in the raids, and if not a mythic, there is more than 20 usually. So in individual there, it's quite easy to hide and quite easy to not already notice is actually there. And the thing is augmentation actually required in a plus? Yes, by people wanting it. The similar thing as with healers, that Blizzard really wanted to try make people don't play without a healer, as the first season when the 1.7 patch launched and Paladin tank began to be meta, there were so many groups that was just name no healer, and that Paladin healed a little, don't heal a lot, but it was compensating for lack of healer, and it was taking DPS inside there that could passively heal others, like shamans, druids, priests. They use their ability and their damage are healing. So Blizzard nerfed it, everything about that healing classes they put the mana to Paladin tank now. He will just run off the mana. He's decrease his healing on other members of the group by a lot. And also they increase all damage taken by 25% and all health, maximum health by 25%. Again, they did that on start of this DLC of Dragonflight. So yeah, Blizzard focused, so everybody wants to use healer in the group. Do you need healer in +5? No. Do you need healer in +15? Sometimes on some boss, but people should handle that if you get the correct classes. So even healer is more or less optional. Previous season, as I'm saying, 1.7, there was much more optional as now, because Blizzard tried to not repeat that, so people are always taking healer into the M+. And with a healer, on the that previous season, on the end, it was really funny, because people was pushing. Of course, there was not first in the world, because then as a healing requirement is just going to the sky on some bosses, so we actually really need some healer to pump. But there was actually very high keys that people pushed without a healer. So now is the thing, what is the healer? Healer is a support. That's all healer is. Also tank is also support, because two of them, their role is to make DPS survive so they can do damage. So in a matter of fact, tank is also support, but tank can smash, and you know, everything is about the tank. You're pulling the tank to ourselves. He's a little bit big boy, so like I would say on paper tank is also support, but by the styles, how tanks are playing and how they can decide what is happening around them and stuff like that, I think tank is really like a solo hero or something like that than support. Sometimes you can clear lower key just with the tank. Your damage is huge, you can survive, you can heal yourself. Let's say we forget about tanks, let's say we have always one support in the dungeon, and there is 4 other classes and specializations and one support. Even a lot of other games and MMOs I tried, many of them, they don't really have that actual healer's role. That's why I like World of Warcraft much more than others, because I love healing and usually just heal. And they are just, somebody is more tanky, but like 2 of them can also tank because they do some huge damage, but they are actually tanky. And one guy is a little bit more for the buffs, but everybody is basically DPS. They're just somebody is more tanky, somebody is more buffing them, and nobody actually needs heal because you just regenerate after the fight, or you will sit down or use some cozy vessels, stuff like that. They are not actually like exactly split for the role. That's actually what I love on World of Warcraft. And healer was exactly that support role. I was always support role. And now we have augmentation Evoker. But it's not healer, because it cannot replace healer. It cannot heal. You can pull some shields, it can increase your health, it can really help you with survivability, but it's not healer. Well, of course you have some of heals, but it's healing the same as if you are DPS. It's not much really. And you run out of the mana really quickly, so yeah, something you can heal a little, but not actually good help per second numbers. As I'm loving supporting everyone, and I love to buffing them, like as you're playing like priest healer, then you're buffing PIs. Then you're playing a paladin, you are buffing them with blessing. Now it's counting as your damage, but it's not your damage. You put it on someone, they did damage. You just buff them. Of course, now it's counting as you. I guess augmentation in the future, everything will count as his damage. Now it's quite a mess, like what is counting is his damage and other damage. I get it, it's not so easy to calculate, because when you just have some ability that will proc from their damage and then do damage, it's easy to track. But when you increase some other player's stats, it's hard to count, like what actually percentage of their damage was actually your damage, or rather, it's thanks to you they did that damage. On some other healers, druid, you're also buffing them. Versatility paladin, you are putting an aura that protects them, and many support stuff you can do with your healers. So healers are supporting. Of course, other DPS are supporting, because you know that's how it works. You do your role, then you help your friends a little, you help your teammates a little, you may help your group a little, and you have so many sub roles. They even added the 6th one. We have 6th healer now, as Preservation Evoker came here now and is alive with us. And just put augmentation to the healers. Make them more abilities. Make power infusion for priest just for the healer. It's support. Make support. Like spread augmentation abilities to other healers. Why should be everything together, one specialization, and everybody then waiting in a plus? Because we can take whatever tank, whatever healer, whatever 2 DPS, but we want the lizard because everybody wants to pump. Just put one ability on one healer, like put that breath of eons that you're saving percentage of damage and then will deal on the end. Put it on Preservation Evoker. Make that Prescience buff. Put it on Shaman. Just spread it around. There are supports. This game exists in 20 years. And supports are already existing in the game. Just make supports more supporty. Not just healing. Make them buff others. This is new support that will even buffing in healing. When I'm healing in dungeon and there's augmentation, it's much easier. Why? Because my stats are increasing by a lot. And it's always busting that. It's usually over 70% uptime of the power fight. And that's a huge difference for your healing and what you can pump in the dungeon as a healer. And also then increasing a little bit of your other support stuff, but yeah. So I don't understand why they need to just come here and stick inside the already working game. Oh, we have some special right now and it's new support class. That is nothing in common with previous support class. It's a completely new role. And now in the dungeons, there is no one tank, one healer, 3 DPS. There is one tank, one healer, one support, 2 DPS. It's not DPS. Cannot do anything without their group. As DPS, of course, cannot do anything without a tank and heal when something needs to be tanked and then there's some damage that is not avoidable. So yeah, you need to play that. But it's still, it's one role, one new role that all the people want because everybody wants to do more damage, more healing, be more safe. It's just how people like it. That's just nice. But now they put 4 people there and then you are sitting in the queue for next 10-15 minutes because now you need augmentation. So no, we actually don't need augmentation. We need that support role, that new role. And guess what? Only augmentation Evoker can play it. There is no other choice than augmentation Evoker. So yeah, I don't want it in the game. Just nerf it to the ground. Just put it out of the board so nobody will play it. Or make other super class. I would love much more. Just put more responsibility on healers, like to buff. I know that healers have now everything because they need to do now damage. So they're not focusing only for healing. That on some classes is not so easy because you need to keep track on a lot of stuff. Now we need to also do damage during that healing and buffing as like watching somebody else. Oh, you have cooldown something like that, and buffing them. That would be again too much. But you can do damage easier, healing easier, and add new mechanic. Because we're always adding some new mechanics to healing, new mechanics for damage. Of course, I'm always talking now about healers. And just make it a little easier and make them do something more. Like the priests are also doing it already. Paladins are also doing that with blessing already. They need to keep a little bit track on the cooldowns, and there will once in a while there will use some ability that will buff your other guys, and they will do more damage thanks to that. As you are using this ability for damage. Also, Paladin have a blessing that can use for other guys, so cooldown reduction on anyone and stuff like that. So it's already even exist, but it doesn't require completely new character. Now there are so many groups, and I'm absolutely annoyed by that. They're just sitting in the queue and waiting for augmentation, but there's not so many augmentation. Me personally, it's so fucking boring for me to play augmentation. I tried it when it came out. I played one dungeon, I didn't know what to click. I played second dungeon. I learned what to do. I played third dungeon. I was min-maxing and knockbacking or knock-upping enemies in the perfect timing, so they don't do any cast and don't do any damage. And 3 dungeons, I learn. Of course, I'm not perfect, because that definitely needs practice. I need to experience some dungeons and to know exactly what to time where and stuff like that. Or play with more damage classes, so you know, like, much better to exactly stick buffs for them. And so we need to learn the cooldown and stuff like that, of course. So I'm not the best, but I understand it's so easy. The class is so simple, the augmentation is so simple. You have not much to think about. So yeah, there is not many people enjoys it. A lot of people who play it enjoys it because they are getting instant invite. Yeah, that's cool and nice. But yeah, this again, they are waiting just tens of minutes in the queue because we are waiting for a new role. Just one class, one spec can play it. If you're waiting for healer, there are many people with different tastes that feels, ooh, a restoration druid is so boring for me. But disco priest, ooh, disco priest, that's the stuff. And you have a healer. Now you're waiting for another support because you want to pump your damage. You want to show your mom nice numbers. Oh, we need support. That is increasing our damage a lot. Okay, but we need to wait 50 minutes because it's just Augmentation Evoker who can do it. There's nobody else. Nobody other class that if you don't like Augmentation Evoker, you can play other that and people will still want you in the group because you are different kind of support and you do the same thing, basically. So yeah, like points of my ornament and why I hate it is not the DPS. You are stuck in the queue for years. You have no other choices, just Augmentation Evoker. There is no other choice of supports. Fourth point is, there are already supports in the game. There are healers. Just make them more support if you want something like in the game. And the last one, I played this game for years. For me, it's 16 years playing the game. And I love it because I love healing. And I love it because it was one tank, 3 DPS, 1 healer. Like, you can make... I don't think many new players are playing this game. I think that's just returning players that played this 4 years ago. And did we play it because there was Augmentation Evoker role? No. Because I love support role in this game. But this is another support role. I don't need that. So anyway, let me know in the comments definitely what you think. I'm very curious what other people idea our augmentations. For me, just nerf it to the ground. Of course, don't erase it from game because Blizzard would never do that. I don't think so. But just nerf it another everything 50%, so nobody will play it. And if you add more supports like this, or just spread other support ability for other healers, I just don't want to see it. So yeah, definitely interested. What is your opinion on augmentations? And thank you for watching. Goodbye.